So hello again, it's Nathalia Westmacott-Brown. I am the author of the little book of self-care which is called Breathwork, and my publishers DK have kindly invited me to make a few short films to benefit their staff who are working from home, and I believe that breathing consciously with awareness can be a very simple way to bring you back to a sense of centered focus and well-being. For many of us, the transition to working from home has taken us from environments which are busy, perhaps motivating a sense of focus and commitment, surrounded by colleagues, perhaps scheduled into regular meetings, high levels of social interaction for some of us at work, which comes rather suddenly to a stop when you start home working, which can feel of course quite isolating, and it demands a higher level of self-motivation. With the best will in the world, you haven't got people on either side of you inspiring you to keep going. So we need to kind of keep ourselves going through these moments, and the tool that I want to offer in the film today is the importance of movement. And that is obviously moving one's body, as I'm sure you will have realised already, is highly advantageous if you want to maintain energy over a long period of time. Taking regular breaks to do a brief walk, particularly outdoors, particularly in nature, especially helpful to spend a little moment just leaning into a tree, sort of not just walking from A to B, but stop and pause and stretch. And remind yourself, that the natural world is always available to us as a huge resource to help us reinvigorate on a mental, physical, possibly one might even say spiritual level. So that's the physical movement. Now, it's not always possible to go out for a walk or 5 times a day go out for a walk or something like this. And under these circumstances, it can be very useful to know how to open up one's respiratory system, how to open up the breath, to provide the body with an internal massage. The inner organs are being moved about. The circulation in the blood vessels is increasing with the movement. And if we get stuck and still and sitting in the chair without motion for long periods of time, then the inner organs start to get less mutable. There's just less invigoration of the lower abdomen specifically. Typically, as people start to evolve subventilation, that is, that they're not utilizing the full breathing mechanism, then obviously the part of the body that is still breathing is still getting some movement, but the parts of the body that have shut down start to de-energize, and that can be the foundation for health issues in the long run. So let's breathe that out. And on that level, particularly if you're somebody who struggles to open up the abdomen, this is a really valuable piece of information. This is a really valuable reminder for anybody, because this lower abdominal belly breathing opens up our capacity to feel more fully. Not always comfortable, we know this. But when we feel things more fully, we can respond to them. We can't respond to issues and circumstances that we don't know about. So belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, lower down the body is very useful for feeling feelings more deeply, opening up the feeling capacity, opening up our empathic capacity. So even while you're sitting in your chair, you may not have the time and space to go for a walk, but putting your feet flat on the ground so that you've got a good contact with the earth, and finding a position for your body where your back is straight, where the spine is straight. We don't need it to be rigid or stiff, so allowing a little bit of softness to come in there, and then just taking a moment to connect with your sit bones, to connect with the point of contact that you have in your chair, in your seat, just to really feel grounded in the body before you start any breathing practices. Always useful to start with a little check-in with the roots, I call it, just going down the body, perhaps giving your feet a little scrunch. Sitting with your shoes off can be advantageous for grounding. So, rather than sitting with shoes at the table or at your desk, can be useful to have your shoes off and give your feet a regular bend, just tilting from the heel to the toe, I'm kind of attempting to do that here, but I'm in big boots in the snow. So it's going from the heel to the snow, Okay, so a little bit of a scan just to connect with our feet flat on the ground. And then we're going to open up what in the Pranayama tradition is called the 3-part breath. I like any explanations which are simple and straightforward. The 3-part breath, quite simply, encourages us to open from the belly to the diaphragm to the chest. And the breath moves in a wave up the body. So we open up the breath from the belly, and then we encourage it to open up into the rib cage, into the diaphragm or the mid region of our body, and finally into the chest. And then from the chest we exhale, and then the inhale starts back at the belly again. And 1, 2, 3. Now what we're trying to do with this process is increase movement without creating stress or strain. I've been breathing consciously for a number of years, probably knocking on about 20 years, and over that period my capacity has increased tremendously. But it's a step-by-step process, and we don't want to be doing anything too radical, too quick, which is going to cause a stress or a strain on the system. So we've already checked in with the roots. I'm now also just going to bring my awareness into the upper body, which is to bring the chin slightly down to the chest so the back of the neck can open. If we're feeling disconnected from our bodies, we tend to lift the chin up, which closes the back of the neck down, which inhibits the neurological sensitivity. The nervous system gets inhibited when we put pressure on the back of the neck. This is the observation that I've made about the stereotypical sense of the British with their nose in the air. They put their nose in the air. But it's true that when you put your nose up, you can get less emotional feeling, less of a connection of sense of groundedness in the body. So in fact, let's do that together just as an experiment. So taking one breath in and out through the nose and feeling your body. And now let's lift our nose up in the air and close the back of the neck slightly. And take a couple of breaths like that. And just notice the difference. Now for myself, I feel a much shallower breath when the neck's back, when the neck's tilted back. So it's really advantageous for us to keep our chin slightly down to the chest. Notice the tendency to let the head drift up. That tends to be a symptom of disassociation from the body. So we've got our feet on the ground. So we've got our chin. We're anchored into the chest a little bit as well. This really holds the torso. This contains the torso. This anchors the torso so we can open up some energy into the torso with the 3-part breathing process. So we're going to start 3-part breathing in and out through the nose. Let's go. Belly, diaphragm, top chest, and then exhale from the top chest. So I broke it down in 3 parts for you, but now I'm going to do them all together. One more time. One more time, from the belly to the diaphragm to the chest, in and out through the nose. Now that process of opening reasonably fully in the belly, the diaphragm and the chest has taken me a number of years of breath practice. So please don't be surprised if you found it a struggle to either open in one of those centres or another. It's most likely without some consistent breath practice, one of those areas will feel more or less open. So just noting without judgment which part of your body is more open and which part of your body is more resistant. That place which is more resistant is the place where you have habitually shut down over time, and the muscles start to atrophy, they start to contract, and that means that you're breathing up against that contraction, that contracted musculature and so on, and so your breath is not as easy in that place. It takes time to open it up. So go gently with yourself, but always come to the edge and then push the edge a little. Give yourself a little stretch. A breath retention, a breath hold can be useful. So I'm going to go in and out through the mouth. The 3-part breath once again, from the belly to the diaphragm to the chest. And I'm going to hold at the top of the inhale. I'm just going to hold for a count of 5 and just hold the stretch a little bit before I slowly release again. Beautiful. I really get a fantastic feeling of stretch from that breath retention. So valuable to be able to really hold at the peak of your capacity and then gently release. What we don't want to do is release with any kind of sudden exhale, this kind of drastic exhale. So obviously at the point where you feel like you've reached the top of your capacity or capability in terms of breath retention, then just gently releasing either through the nose or through the mouth. So I'm going to demonstrate one more time, in and out through the mouth, holding at the top for 5 and slowly releasing through the mouth. Yeah, so even after really a number of years, I've got my cable showing, my apologies. Even after a number of years of breath practice, the retained breath there still gives me a little bit of a high, still gives me a little bit of a sense of... sorry, just checking my time on the film because there's a limit to how far I can upload. So I hope that's useful. It's certainly always been a useful foundational practice for me because you can do it just about anywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're at work or anything else. You can create a space for yourself doing the dishes or walking the dog. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It's possible just to set the intention to breathe from the belly to the diaphragm, up into the chest, all on the inhale, and then release from the chest. And you don't need to do many of those breaths to start opening up your lung capacity over time. So good luck with that. Enjoy yourself, and I'm going to get myself in out of the cold. Thank you for watching.